The Marla and Dave radio experience begins in 3, 2, 1.
Now, if you're ready, we will begin.
Go. Welcome to the Marla and Dave radio show. This is reality radio with a couple that keeps it real. Current events, pop culture, music, relationships, fitness, the hot topics of the day. Marla and Dave Thomas. This is the Marla and Dave radio show. Real radio. Turn up!
Welcome to the Marla and Dave Show. For the record, let everybody know, today we are rebranding the Marla and Dave Show. It is now The Man Cave. Nice. It is The Man Cave with Dave. I kind of like the ring of that.
Dave.
Yeah, and I got my co-host in studio, Mr. Alvin Chia of Take Six.
Right, I got my club in hand.
Dr. Aaron Bullock is back in the house. And we are going to be doing the do without Marla. Again, the Marla and Dave Show has now become The Man Cave. Let's get right to it. Let's get all the Marla-ness out of the way right quick.
Yeah.
If you guys don't mind.
It's good.
Is that past the muster? Okay, here's what we're going to do. Tony, what was Marla's mood song? Okay, cut. We get that. We get that Marla's probably watching as we speak, probably trying to call in. Tony, block the call. Tony, what's my mood song?
Give me love, she knew something I need. But I'm saying, girl, you're wrong,
I sent her home. You like that? You like how I played that? You see that? You see I'm watching you? Yeah, just go home. Girl, go home. Little girl, just go home. Okay. So right now, I want you guys to, we're not done with the Marla-ness. The reason why Marla is not here, a family friend, Tani, she was a guest on the show before. She died of cancer. She passed away. And they're having the service today. It's really not a memorial service as much as it is a celebration. That's what her family wanted. So much love to the family. Our prayers and thoughts are with you.
How old was she?
I think she was 26. Yeah.
So young.
Very young. Too young. We didn't get to play tennis this week. Marla and I usually play tennis, as you guys know, just about every day. The last time we played, something happened, and I was so angry.
Yeah.
I think my anger I thought one of the guys that we always play with, a friend of mine, I thought he actually made a racial slur.
Yeah.
And I thought across the net he was calling me a boy.
Was he in fact calling you a boy, or did you just think it?
I think he kind of was, but not in the way that I was thinking.
Right, your boy,
so,
your
in
boy
other
always
words,
do.
he wanted me to slow down so that Marla could be ready. Now, first of all, I never quick serve is what that it's called, and so that means while Marla is getting ready to receive my serve, I'm just actually going ahead and serve. Yeah. So I'm usually waiting. So he's trying to look out for Marla, which really, man, it's my wife.
Yeah.
So then he says, "Hold on." He actually says, "Hold on, big boy."
He said, "Big boy."
Big boy.
Oh, that's respect.
That's kind of respect.
That's different.
Yeah.
So now, what I thought he actually said was, I thought he said, "Slow down, boy."
You missed the big. That's a big.
And at this point, I was like, "Okay." I was about to serve, and my subconscious said, "Did you hear that?" And I said, "What did you say?" Put my racket down. Then everybody's like, "Oh no, he's not really me." He said, "What are you saying?" I said, "Come on, big boy." And I was like, "Okay."
Wow, that must have been a quiet.
So for the whole next 2 games, I had to kind of just not really focus and just kind of just hit the ball away.
Dave, it didn't happen. It didn't
I tried to tell myself that. By the time the set was over, my elbow
was tense. Yeah.
And I really couldn't backhand anymore. It was like my body was like, "Please don't backhand this guy."
Yeah.
So I couldn't backhand, so I had to take 2 weeks off.
So you're trying to be so nice to overcompensate because you were going off.
Yeah, I was, for the first time in a long time, my spirit was ready to fight.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah. Welcome
You know what I mean?
To the
Yeah.
dark side.
And become
I'm always
fully
ready to fight.
fully chia-ized.
I don't even play tennis.
I mean, I'm from Texas, so I have a particular trigger for.
Okay. Yeah, for boy. Yeah. It was really like, and I was thinking to myself, man, first of all, the guy is not white.
Right.
So he is Hispanic.
Right.
So I'm sitting there like, really, man?
We're on the same team.
Really,
What are you
man?
doing?
Right. Yeah.
And so he tried to tell me a story about, when he was in college, he had started a club called the Beaners. One of those stories that's supposed to make you feel better.
Yeah.
But it's like, no,
Now I
man,
feel
that,
worse about
that
you.
does
Yeah,
not make me feel better because you're racist against yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Why?
Exactly.
So
Anyway.
maybe you actually did
Yeah,
say it.
you know what
Like,
I'm saying? Maybe.
Maybe
So,
you actually said it, yeah.
So,
Well, what
anyway,
did Marla hear?
Marla was trying to calm me down.
Oh, so she didn't even get into what?
So she didn't really get into it. He would never do that. He's our friend. I'm like, yeah, kind of, huh? But really?
I heard what I heard.
Yeah, I couldn't let it go.
Yeah.
Anyway, Lexi's back in town.
Hey.
Welcome back, Lexi.
Our daughter, Drew Alexis Thomas, is back in town. She's going to be
Nice.
working at ABC. She got the job.
That's great. Man.
So hopefully this is her last job.
Yeah,
Her last job for life.
that's great.
I want you guys to, first of all, what about you guys' week? Aaron, start with you.
You know I'm nesting.
What's the highlight?
I've
Yeah,
been- I've been
Aaron's
nesting.
expecting.
I have been mulching. I have been cleaning spider webs. I have been, what else? I'm painting. I'm doing all kinds of stuff. Man,
Yeah.
I hung outdoor speakers.
Oh, you nesting in and out.
Nice.
Oh, you have no idea. Like,
Yeah.
like there's a baby shower that was being planned by my wife's friends.
Yeah,
That somehow,
you got pulled into.
how's that happening?
I don't know. See, back in the day, men didn't even have to go to those things. But somebody along the way got weak, and now men have to go to all of
But
that.
wait a minute,
Tony,
I
I'm
thought
gonna
Aaron,
need- I'm gonna need more bass.
Aaron, I thought you actually wanted the man shower.
Okay, so this is what
Yeah, help
happened.
me understand.
So there was this conversation about whether or not we were going to have a co-ed baby shower or not.
Right.
I've been.
Right.
I hated it.
Right.
Every man there
Yeah,
hated
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Right. And so you stand around
Right.
commiserating with each
Right,
other
right,
about
right,
how
right.
much you hate it. Right.
Right.
So I said, look, if you guys want to do this, I'm perfectly happy to do co-ed, but you guys have to do your thing over there.
Right.
The men are going to get together and do all the things you can't do. In other words, we're going to smoke cigars
Right.
Yeah,
and we're
yeah.
going to drink bourbon,
Yeah,
tequila.
yeah.
We might
Yeah.
even do a crawfish boil that day.
And we might have strippers. Don't make us mad.
Dave,
That would have to be a big house.
we're probably going to have strippers with Dave. People are listening to this.
Oh, I thought we didn't care today. This is the man cave.
Oh, we still care.
Yeah, okay. Sorry about
Cave is
that.
broadcasting to the world.
All good. So yeah, man, Ben, what about you?
Man, I got to thank you for something, brother.
Oh, what? What did I do?
You hooked me up.
Okay.
Okay, so I recently moved like about 4 months ago. And the last thing I wanted to tear down was my studio.
Yep.
Guaranteed the second you tear it down, somebody's going to call, somebody's going to need something. The day I tore it down, I had to call Dave. I was like, man, I got an audition. I got to come over right now. Dave said, okay, man, come on over. So I had to do it for a little snack bar thing. Da-dup-dup-dup-dup-dup. You'll know it when you hear it. I booked it.
Wow. That's what's up. Congratulations
Thank you, brother.
indeed. We need a chair. An applause there, please, Mr. Tony.
I booked. Thank you. Glory! Can you get a little mix that in there
Go to
too.
church.
Yeah,
That's
so it was
what's
really
up.
cool, man. Five spots in this national campaign that's going to run. They said it should run for a year at least. So,
Dude,
Booked 5 now.
dude, that's
Five
a
nationals.
that's a car at least.
brother, I got a list of needs so long. Car's on there somewhere, but it's not at the
Wait,
top.
I don't think that was a car to you.
No,
It's a car for Katie.
Yeah.
So today, this week, I actually saw a clip of a guy who had come out of his house onto the beach. Tony, if you can start playing that, and a great white shark was in the shallow waters right outside at the
saw
beach by
that.
his house.
I saw that.
The funny thing about this is the guy, he's getting pretty close. And I'm like, wow, okay, he's doing almost a Dave.
Right.
Now, even though as he got it to get to thigh deep water, you know how you can't really run that fast in water?
Yeah, no.
So I'm thinking, okay, now you are kind of tripping.
Right.
Because you can't swim, and it's a great white.
Right.
And he's injured too,
All he
so
has to do is
he's
roll
already
over
mad.
and he's on top of you.
He's already mad. So next thing you know, he's calling his friends out, and he's like really just going, "Oh my God, what the F? That is just an effing shark!" Blah blah, just going crazy. He finally starts telling the guy, and his friend comes out, which I think was his brother, because they have a liquor company or something like that. Anyway, they're coming out, a winery. They're coming out, and he's bringing him a spear gun for safety.
Safety.
He then takes the spear gun and says thank you, and then starts to proceed to tell his brother to go stand by the shark so he can take a picture
Go
of
be
his
Jim,
brother
I'll
with
be
the
Marlon
shark.
Perkins. Yes,
Right.
I got you.
And as God would have it, God sends a stingray, and the stingray hits the guy on the foot, and the guy has to go back and doesn't actually
Probably
get the
saved his
picture
life.
with the shark. He doesn't really know that.
Yeah.
It just came to me as I'm talking that God probably saved his life
Yeah.
with the stingray hit.
Yeah. Because that whole thing was about to be filmed.
Absolutely. No, it was filmed.
The death was going to be.
And how crazy that is that nowadays that people literally will sit there and film while crazy things are happening instead of helping.
Some people.
Right.
You know, we have a great show planned for
people
you.
will
This is the Man Cave with Dave, Alvin, and Aaron. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Marla and Dave Radio Show on the Universal Broadcast Network. Current events, pop culture, the hot topics of the day. It's time for MaD News on the Marla and Dave Radio Show. Ladies and gentlemen, Marla and Dave.
And again, that's just Dave, along with Alvin and Aaron. So, guys, a crazy story happened this week. So there's a lady who's actually being prosecuted for child endangerment because she allowed her infant to be bitten by a snake. So it was a baby rat snake. And as far as she's concerned, she's just helping her child learn how to interact with wildlife, but letting the child learn for
In
itself.
other words, it wasn't. She didn't say, "Don't touch that," or "Come back over," and the kid.
No, she's
do it.
letting the child handle the snake. And when the child gets bit, she's like, okay, so now you know.
So that we learned.
Now you know.
Don't ever do that again. Don't listen to mommy.
According to the mom, the snake's teeth were so small that it can't puncture the skin. The mother had been bitten repeatedly. It was a snake that they found in the driveway. And apparently, you know, as far as she was concerned, it was harmless.
But okay, so I think I know where you're going with your outrage. But were you equally outraged when Steve Irwin back in the day used to have Bindi in the corral with the lions or whatever it was he was doing?
So let me say this. I was not outraged.
Okay.
The reason why I was not outraged, and make sure you're talking to the mic so
Yeah,
we can.
microphones. I got it.
The reason why I was not outraged is because the child was not actually hurt. But because the mother, as the narcissist that we are these
But
days.
so who told?
Let me tell you. So the mother puts it up on YouTube.
Oh, she's an idiot.
She puts it on the internet, and people go crazy, and she gets picked up.
You have a picture of this?
Tony, is there a picture up there? Well, the picture that I have is just somebody holding the rat snake.
That's almost an OJ. You know?
What do you mean, OJ?
You do something stupid, you get away with it by some crazy miraculous way, and then you go. You don't know how to stick
I
it with
think
your head.
nowadays we actually call it a Trump.
No, it's probably Trump.
It used to be an OJ, but that's
Yeah,
like so
Trump.
90s, man.
Trump,
Yeah.
Trump.
Sorry. That's Trump's
It's,
OJ.
it's a Trump's
that.
OJ.
I like that.
Which leads me to the next story. So, of course, you guys have heard that the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is next to the highest court of the land, actually just did not overturn Trump's, kept the overturn of Trump's travel ban in place.
Right.
Now,
Go back
again,
to the drawing board.
let's go back to let's go back to the narcissism. Of course, he is narcissist in chief.
Right.
Okay, you guys with me? Trump is narcissist in chief.
NIC. Hey, that's a different meaning for his NIC.
Oh wow! So it's not HNIC.
No, just NIC.
For those of you who know what that means, that's a wild end. Anyway, so part of what they cited was originally Trump was tweeting that he was going to have his Muslim ban. That was his whole thing. That's what he ran on.
Right.
He then, since then, starts to tweet that he is going to have a lighter version of his original band, one that is a little bit more politically correct.
Muslim banish.
Well, what he wants.
Right,
Was
but
the-
what he was. And so they said, well, basically, you already said in public what your intentions actually are.
Right.
This is just a lighter version of your original Muslim band.
Right.
And again, he probably would have won
Right.
had he just been quiet.
The judges actually watch TV and
You know
they're on
what?
the internet too.
You know what I mean?
We can hear you.
And even if the judge isn't, any one of us can actually pull up all the things that he says in public.
Right.
Matter of fact, I heard that the lawyer that he has, the reason why he doesn't have a different lawyer is basically because they won't
one else will do it.
they won't represent him.
No one else will do it.
Wow.
Man, anyway, let me get to the last story right quick. So there was a guy whose name was Richard, what was his last name? Richard Anthony Jones. Went to jail, was in prison since 1999, I think, for armed robbery. Turns out he was only there because of eyewitnesses and got picked out of a lineup and because of what they heard him say what his name was.
Right.
A guy who looked exactly like him, whose name was Ricky,
Right.
had actually done the crime. And come to find out, he heard through the grapevine while he was in prison that there was another guy in prison with the same name, looked exactly like him. He's like, what? Come to find out, his lawyers found out it was the guy who actually did the crime. And he had been saying all along it wasn't me.
You know what was crazy about that? They had a lineup of all the mugshots, or they had him get picked out of a lineup.
Yeah.
There's about 5 dark-skinned guys, and then he's very light bright. And his shot was about 10 shades lighter than everybody.
Yeah.
Was like, is it him?
Yeah.
or him.
Absolutely. Anyway, that's the MaD news. We're going to get back to the show.
This ain't your mama's radio show. Can you handle the truth? Then get ready for a real radio experience. Ladies and gentlemen, Marla and Dave.
All right. Like I said, this is the Man Cave with Dave, Alvin, and Aaron. What's up, you guys?
What's up, man?
All right, man. So now,
Are we gonna get some cigars, man? I mean,
you know
we're
what?
trying to be with you.
I was running. I left the brandy. I left the bourbon. I left the cigars. Yeah, you know, and I apologize. I apologize. Now,
MaD
if we were to
after
smoke
party.
cigars, Vin, what would we actually be smoking?
And Romeo and Juliet's, Cohibas. I'm just a Cuban guy.
Just a Cuban guy?
I went to Cuba and I got bit bad, man. It just all made sense when I
Hilarious.
inhaled. I'm sorry.
I have to say, I prefer the Dominican leaf.
Really?
Yes, the Dominican leaf is a darker, richer leaf.
More mild.
But to that, most of the Cuban growers that I like
Yeah.
in the Dominican are Cubans.
What was it? I can't call the name of it now, but I did have a Dominican. It was, man, it's just such a nice thing.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is. The world just makes sense. It just slows down to half a beat, and that's all
Very
good.
nice. But you know what else? I'm a pipe smoker.
A pipe smoker.
Now, I was one of those, I shouldn't even say it. I went to military school, so I was the obnoxious kid, the 13-year-old kid smoking a pipe.
With an ascot?
Basically with an ascot.
Jeeves, bring the car around.
Excuse me, can you fill my pipe?
Hilarious.
But I have been smoking a pipe that long, and I
Wow.
love it. Like, there's just nothing like having that warm bowl. And
Right.
It's
And you don't get
nice.
the burn like with the cigar.
You don't get the burn, but also like you really can have a different experience all the way around.
Right.
It's more than just a
So let me ask you this about a pipe. So with the cigar, you don't actually inhale.
Neither.
So you don't inhale with the pipe either.
No.
And see, you know what? That's so anti how I grew up in high school. I was smoking a lot of marijuana. So that's all you do is inhale.
You ain't smoking unless you inhale it.
You know what I'm saying? So
I
the
used to
first,
smoke my marijuana pipe as well. So
okay,
Yeah,
and you still didn't inhale. So what
no,
good
no,
is
I
that?
did inhale then I inhaled deeply, heavily.
Well, see, I'm kind of Adventist in how I smoke a cigar.
Yeah,
It just barely leaves my lips. I'm like,
yeah. Well,
I
I was
still love them. I still serve them.
I was Adventist too. I was just messing up. So let's get that out there. So right away, again, and I still, the first time I remembered smoking a cigar,
Yeah.
I think I might have got it from Marla's dad, but I didn't smoke it at the time. So later I was like, let me try to smoke this thing.
Yeah, man. Oh, man. Oh, man.
I was trying to man up to make sure you can hold it without coughing. And after a while, I'm sitting there like, man,
Yeah,
what
the world will spin on you,
what the?
and you will go down.
I'm about to pass out.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Like, really? How do people do this?
No.
And it wasn't until later they was like, yeah, you don't inhale, dummy.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, yeah. Somebody should have told me. I can't leave a man alone with a cigar without giving him the instructions. Anyway, like we said, this is the man cave today. So, let me just put this out there right up front. Marla actually made the document. So what that means is, as I scan down this document, I will see suggestions that Marla had for us. At any moment, we all have veto power.
All right. So she's bringing snacks to the man cave, but we don't have to eat them.
You know what? She can't even bring the snacks, but she sends the suggestion, hey, why don't you guys discuss this?
Are you hungry?
Yeah, so apparently where this all began is somebody, I think it actually was a guy, wrote into the Marla and Dave Show and said, you guys are always talking about women's issues. Right. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of true, because, in my house, there isn't room for men's issues.
Right.
Because when a woman says, I have a problem, the man tries to solve it. When the man has a problem, he's a
Right.
So I can't have problems.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, I guess that's true. We only talk about women's problems. So today we're going to turn the corner and talk about things that men deal with.
Right. I like
All right.
that. Okay.
Not actually our problems, but the
Yeah.
things that we deal with, the things that we like, the things that we don't like.
I'm with you.
All right. So right quick, Marla wants to find out the mind of a man.
Must be a very short show.
And so I was thinking about that, and I really, first of all, let me introduce you guys. Aaron, you've been on the show before. Alvin, you've been on the show before. And everybody knows what it is that you guys do. My face was recognized as being much thinner because of the detox and the restriction and the pain that, Aaron, you put me through.
All love, Dave. It was all love.
And I would say that my anus was scarred.
All love?
Now,
Was
I think you need to.
was absolutely scarred by
All
the
love.
You might need
by
to,
the as much as I was
explain that.
as much as I yeah I do
All
as
love.
much as I was running out of the things in my body
It just perked my interest.
through that orifice, I could barely sit down.
Yes.
I
I'm with you.
literally
Dave is saying that he did a detox.
yes, thank you.
And that detox caused him to have some pain from one of his
Why,
orifices.
Aaron? I think you need to help me with this. Why is it that detoxes always have to do with just making sure that you diarrhea?
Because we are mostly full of shit. And that's the best way to get it out.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we admit that right up front. We're full of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just go ahead and get
apparently,
That should be on all the labels.
apparently I was loaded.
You're full of shit.
Apparently I was loaded. Alvin, we've been singing together since we were boys.
Forever.
Yeah, we became men singing in Take 6. So here we are. So the mind of a man with at least the three of us. That's such a broad,
It's too big of a question.
Too
broad
big. Yeah.
topic.
Yeah.
You know what I
can
mean?
ask what's your mind,
Yeah.
or what's
And-
Alvin's mind.
And that might be too big of a topic, or at least too much of a topic for me to actually boil down to a
5
simple
minutes.
5, 10, 15, 20, a single show.
You know what the problem is? It's not good. Men aren't good at saying, here's what I need. Here's what I'm feeling. If
Yeah.
you ask us
Literally.
what is, then I can say, okay, well, here's what's bothering me.
But you know what? I think that's because we haven't been taught to do it. Because I am a firm believer that, and I do this. So I'm not just I also am a coach.
Okay.
Right. So I
Which I
spend
was
a
gonna
lot of
get to.
time dealing with people and their stuff. I think that men are in some ways more sensitive than women.
Mm-hmm. I think, oh, yeah.
I think in some ways more emotional than women.
Okay.
I think though that we've been taught that that's bad. If you're those things, then you must be some other thing.
Right.
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 And so we get, stuffed in and tucked down, and
Right.
and we don't do it. But that when we're together like this,
Yeah.
we tell each other everything.
Absolutely.
We cry. We do. We tell. We do all the stuff that women
Right.
don't think we do
Right.
Right.
because we don't feel safe doing it
Yeah.
in front of them.
Do you think that boys are taught not to cry or just socialized not to cry?
I think it's both. I think it's a combination. I think that they're socialized, but that the education largely is. I mean, think about it. You again in the South in military school, right? What are you doing? You crying? What's wrong with you?
Right.
Where's the skirt at?
Right.
Like honestly, my father threatened to buy me skirts all
Wow.
the time. Like, that's an awful, terrible thing, right? Like, so what are you gonna do? You're just not gonna cry, right? Like, I think I got to a point that I didn't cry from the time that I was a child. I probably didn't cry until I was in my deep 20s. You know what I mean? That was something really painful that made it happen.
Yeah. Do you have that same experience, Vin?
Well, yeah, my dad used to hate any kind of emotion that, but he's gotten softer and more more manageable in his old age. But yeah, I was telling you, quit crying. What are all those tears for? And my dad, so not only was it, my generation versus his generation, but it's a different culture.
Right.
He was from Liberia. He is from Liberia, West Africa. So he kind of thinks American blacks are kind of soft anyway.
Right. That goes without saying.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're not
You
going
guys
to be
got it good.
softened by
Right.
living in the United
Right.
States.
Yeah,
I get
so,
you.
Yeah, but I don't have a problem. I don't think showing emotion, but it was me just saying, forget all of this, especially when you have a voice like mine.
Yeah.
People looking at you like you're crazy. I gotta really be worked up. I'm weeping. So it comes with you getting in touch with yourself.
So here's the question: Were we taught? Because I'm gonna get to some of my experiences in a second, but were we taught not to cry over things that maybe our parents, our fathers specifically, didn't think we should be crying about, or not to cry in general?
In general.
Yeah. I think it was in general.
Because I think my dad literally liked to see me get dominated, so to speak, because my mother was always the one that basically said, when your dad comes home, so I'm already stressing out pretty much for at least 6 to 8 hours while my dad's at work. When he gets home, he's already mad that when he gets home, he can't really relax. He's got to go take care of something that I messed up earlier in the day. So he gets in, so what is your mom telling me? I'd have to recount the whole incident. He's slowly taking off his belt. He's changing his clothes. I'm being tortured.
Yeah.
So he basically sits there and says, so why'd you do this? Looking at me rolling up the belt
Those
slowly.
70s belts, some thick ones.
Them thick belts. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
With a snap.
Right.
Yeah.
With the matching family.
He's rolling it up. And then he's telling me, so you know what's going to happen, right? And I'm sitting like, duh. This is what we're here for. I'm here to get spanked. He tells me to kneel down over the bed while he gets ready to spank. Before the hit would come, I would be crying.
Yeah.
So finally, because I'm being terrorized.
Right.
So then this is like,
I think you can sue him.
maybe nowadays.
Right.
Nowadays, you probably could. So, but by the time I turned 12, I thought to myself, okay, this is kind of warped.
Yeah.
He's getting satisfaction
Right.
by, for lack of a better term, and I love you, Dad, but excuse me, for punking me.
Yeah.
And at this point,
That's
just give me
that's part of his job, though.
just kind of to break your spirit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not mad at that. Maybe we need to break some spirits a little bit more these days. But
Right.
finally I realized, oh, you can't have my spirit.
Right.
From that day on, I was like,
Permanent lip.
Right.
Lip for 30-something
Yep.
years.
so you did what? Yep. Don't know why I did it.
You tell me.
So for the first couple of months, those are probably the worst spankings of life.
Just make it or break it.
I would get beat till he was tired.
Right.
And even then, my only goal was to not cry during the spanking.
Right.
Right.
So finally, he just gave up. There's no use spanking this dude.
Yeah.
He's a lost soul.
My last whooping was to jump the belt. The
Wow.
belt came, I jumped, it hit him.
Wow.
And he looked at me, like I can remember standing there.
Wait, so he swung and the belt
He
went
swung-
around
he
and
swung hard, man. Like
He did. That takes a lot of momentum.
and he hit himself. And the thing is, my dad was scary. Like my dad was famed for being like a tough, scary dude, right? And so you're not gonna punk me. I'm tired of this, right?
Yeah.
Jumped, the belt hit him, and the whole universe got quiet for like 18 years, right? And I sat there and waited, and you could see in his eyes, he was like, "Can I kill him?
Yeah.
Can I get away with it if I
Can
kill
actually
him?"
kill him.
And he was like, "Get out."
Oh.
And I was like, "Really?" And I walked out, and I kept looking over my shoulder like he was gonna come after me.
Right.
That was
Yeah.
the last time. That was the last one until we actually fought.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Well, he fought me. He beat me. We didn't fight at all. Then.
I remember one time my dad was so angry. So my brother and I were doing some housework, and some kind of way, something happened where the rake my brother was using, we were playing, flew off and hit my friend in the head. And it was not just a leaf rake, but one of those kind of heavy ones, the iron ones. So my dad comes out, he's so mad. He goes to rise up on my little brother, and something in me was like, "Nah, man, it was a mistake.
Right.
You're about to actually jack my brother over something that he didn't mean to do."
Right.
I get him in between them, and he's like, "Grr." Basically, it was when your mom comes home, one of us is going to be dead. you remember that lip that we were talking about?
Right.
My face was, and by this time I'm like a junior in high school, so I'm bigger than my dad now. So my face goes,
Guess that's going to be you.
well, I'm not saying who it is, but I'm going to be here. Oh man, I feel bad in my spirit now because I have grown kids now too, and I know the restraint that it requires a parent to still love their child who just doesn't know.
Right. You say it's funny that you say that. I'm 6'1". My dad is 5'4", maybe.
Yeah.
He's like he's gonna be 80 like next month.
Yeah.
He's probably 5'3" now.
Yeah,
So
of
I
course.
instantly was taller than my parents.
Yeah.
Like I put the bottle down and was like, "Milk!" I was taller than them instantly. So, they stopped trying to beat me
Right.
I made it to 7th grade with some pretty good
Yeah.
epic beatings though.
Yeah.
But at one time I came home, my mom was a social worker, so she would take kids away for doing exactly what she was doing.
Right.
They were in the car in the front of the house, and they were like, and I had walked away because I had gotten in trouble for something, and they were just parked in front of the house, ready to take me to jail, to kitty jail. They weren't even talking to me.
Kitty jail.
Yeah. They were talking about in the front of the car which judge was on duty and what they could do, and will they hold me overnight, and I'm in the backseat like. So mind games, I know all about that.
Yeah, no, man.
That's awful.
So this is the Man Cave on the Marla and Dave Show. We got more man issues, so to speak, when we get back.
Hey guys, listen up. Learn something. 26 years of marriage from two unique perspectives equals 52 years of relationship experience.
Excuse me, that's 58 years? Oops, I made a boo-boo.
It's time for Ask Marla and Dave. Answers to your questions about life, love, and relationship based on Marla and Dave's real-life experience. It's about to get real. Ask Marla and Dave.
All right, it's time for the Ask Marla and Dave segment. It's a segment where you, I guess, just kind of bypass all of the show and get your question dealt with right on air by actually going to www.marlandave.com, submitting your question, and we get to it. The question this week from Signed Unjust. So someone who Marla actually decided to name Unjust writes in and says, "Hey, my question is straightforward. I just saw Mary J. Blige was asked to pay her husband $30,000 in alimony. I think that is effed up. I would love to know what you guys think."
Man, please.
Now I assume that I assume the effed up is a woman saying, "Why should a
Absolutely.
woman have to pay a man
Man,
any
please.
alimony whatsoever?"
But I
Do
tell you what.
know?
Right. Hey, listen, if they will now start foregoing alimony, then
Right.
it's effed up. I'm with you.
Right.
But otherwise, if she makes more money and that much more money than him,
That's the law.
that's the law. Pay him.
It is. You think that?
It happens one way here and 9 times the other way.
Yeah,
Sorry.
my real issue all the time is I don't quite understand why women fight so hard to be equal, and yet when it's spelled out,
Right.
suddenly
This
it's
is
not
what it
cool.
means to be equal, yeah.
Yeah, and then they try to guilt trip a man into
Right.
feeling guilty for
You a
accepting
punk.
the money.
You a punk because you want all my money.
Yeah,
Okay.
really? We've heard that before.
Okay.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I'm a punk.
Right. Can you catch this, please?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and so unjust. Here's what I have to say. I concur with my man fellows, and the bottom line is, it is what it is. If the woman makes the most money when you get a divorce, she pays the alimony. Plain and simple. If he did nothing but go to the play pool all day with his friends at the bar, then suddenly you still have to provide his lifestyle.
Now, I do
That's
say,
just
though,
the
it's
way it
whack
is.
that if he's trying to get her to pay his child support,
Yeah.
and I think that's a little bit of what was going on. That
Wait, say what? So
All right,
I don't
he
know
had
the
kids
story.
Before, I believe he had kids before he got with Mary J. But because she's the big breadwinner by the back door, he's paying some of his child support.
That's part of his bills that she's paying
part of
for.
his
bills.
I'm sorry, that's the
Right.
way it
Yeah.
is.
Okay, well,
As
see,
a
that's
matter of
where I
fact-
draw the line. I'm like, well, that's kind of uncool.
But as a matter of fact, the real bottom line is she probably should have stipulated that from day one. Those are your kids. You can have a lifestyle over here with me. I'm not paying your child support.
I think all negotiations should be done from day one.
So let me
I think so,
hold on
too.
a second. Would that be okay if a man met a woman who had children?
Yeah.
Could he or should he say to her, "Those are your kids. You manage that.
He could
Anything we
never
do
say
together."
that.
Of
He
course
can never say
it.
that.
He can never
Yeah.
say it. And
Because
would
he'll
it
be
okay?
punked from day one.
Correct.
I still say if she was paying the child support while they were married, she's paying it when they get a divorce.
They get accustomed to
Just
a
the
certain
way it is.
lifestyle.
I'm sorry, unjust. It's
Oh, I'm
just
sorry about that unjust. I was trying
the
to look
way
you
it
up a little bit.
is.
Yeah.
We're going to get back to the show.
Welcome back to the Marla and Dave Radio Show. Marla and Dave want to talk to you. Phone lines are open at 323-284-7826. 323-284-7826.
In the last segment, we were saying that, Aaron, you were specifically saying you think it's a myth that men don't have the same emotional responses and they're not as sensitive as women. Do you think that's the biggest myth that most women have about men?
Yeah, probably. I think that men are generally set up as some sort of like feelingless giants. You know what I mean? Like,
Do you think it's feeling less, or do you think that we're expected to put our feelings aside and just deal with whatever has to be dealt with?
I think that there's some of that, but I also think that there seems to be, my experience is
Mm-hmm.
that there are a lot of women and men have not helped with this,
Mm-hmm.
who assume that men don't have emotions or don't have feelings, or at least not to the extent that they do, and therefore what the woman is feeling is more important.
I think that too, but also I think women are by nature better communicators than men. They can say, "This is what I'm feeling," and a guy is not going to be as quick or be able to be intuitive enough to say, "Hey, yeah, this is what's going on. My dad was wrong, and I've got this stuff still I'm dealing with, and
But you just said it now. You just did it.
yeah."
And you would do it in any other circumstance. And I think most men, I think that you're right to the extent that, again, we're socialized to not do that.
Well, here's what I think, and I want to turn the corner into more sexual issues. But before I do, first of all, I got to give you guys a pound.
Right on.
Pound
I'll
it up,
take
man.
one. I'll take one.
This is really Man Day. The NBA Finals are on as we speak.
Yeah, this is deep.
You
love,
guys
man.
are truly my boys for being on the Marla and Dave Show in the man cave when we really should be drinking whatever we're drinking, doing whatever we're
In
doing,
the real
watching
man
the
cave,
game
yeah.
in a real man cave.
We'll get to
It's
that.
all good.
You know, we'll catch the
We'll
second
get
half.
to
So
that.
I just want to give you guys an extra shout out for that. Thank you so much. Anyway, I actually think, and I was thinking about this question from the time that we thought about having this type of show. I think it's a power issue because I'm an older brother. So I have older brothers. So I'm in the middle, and I have a younger brother. And I know that when my brother would just be emotionally out of control, it was my job to look out for my little brother. See what I'm saying? And I think even as we go to the issue of racism, you really, some people say that you can't really be a racist if you're black because you just don't have the power structure
I don't
to
know
do
about
anything
that.
about
I
it.
don't-
Never done.
Now, Aaron, you
We've
don't
already
agree.
had this conversation.
Yeah.
You
I
don't
don't
agree,
know
but
about
I
that.
still say you can't do anything about it. So it's not the same
Yeah.
level
you
In other words, what
you
you
don't
see,
have the power, but your intent is to hurt other people that you don't like. That's not like you.
so let's
that's
look at
racist.
so let's look at it from how you see it playing out. Most white people feel like, I don't know what these black people are complaining about. But the black people, the person with the least power is always doing all the complaining. So they are always telling you what their issues are.
Yeah, but if the dude
And
is
so the
bending your
person-
finger, you're going to complain about it.
And so the person with the power is probably like, yeah, it's not that deep. It's not that deep. Because whenever I decide to handle something, it gets handled.
Right.
So let's take all that, juxtapose that against what goes on with women. In a traditional relationship, the man, this is a patriarchal society. You know what I mean? So the men have always had the power. So the women can only complain about it. And it feels to me that they have to always share what they're feeling and get us to agree. Because up until, maybe the 20th century, they really couldn't really just say what they felt and just keep it stepping. They didn't have that many options. And I think it's a power thing. What say ye?
I think we're men, and go for it.
No, go ahead, Alvin. You're going in.
I don't know what I think about that. So set that up again. So you're saying
What I'm saying is, it seems like women are always communicating about their feelings because the person with the least amount of power is always going to be saying what they
I got
feel
you.
like
I got you.
and emoting so that the person with the power can affect something for their good.
they're always in protest mode.
They're
because
always
they've been
in.
done wrong.
I don't want to say complaining, but I guess I am.
I think it's probably human nature to be expressive, right? Like we were born being expressive. You cried when you were hungry. You cried when you know what I
Right.
mean. Like we start
Yeah.
out that way, and I think that, and I don't want to overgeneralize. Some women have been socialized to be more comfortable expressing what their needs are, right? And so they've become more expert at it. To your point, right?
Right.
That maybe they are better at it, but they're better at it because they've been given allowance to do it,
And they
permission to do
practice
it. Correct.
sharing more. My wife will have some girlfriends over, and there's food on the table. Barely anything is eaten. They will talk incessantly for 4.5 hours, 5
Yeah.
hours like that.
Girl.
Yeah. Man, they can barely breathe. They're waiting
Yeah.
for each other to stop so they can talk, and it's like it's
Yeah.
oxygen for them. And guys, I could have a guy over the house. Guys come over the house to watch the game.
They actually watch the game.
We were watching the game, and maybe more pizza. Yeah, over there. But I mean, it's just a different. It's a different social norm.
See,
you know?
here's what I'm saying. I don't know if I've been so thoroughly socialized this way, but that type of talking about nothing actually gets on my nerves.
I understand.
Is
that.
it just me, Aaron? Is it?
What you're saying is you want to talk about something that's substantial, but you still may have.
If
something to
we're
talk
talking about the game, let's talk about the game. I'm not just talking about, how somebody made me feel at
Right.
work today.
Yeah, we're wired differently. That's why when the subject of sex changes and that kind of thing comes up, that to me is just plumbing. Women are completely different from men. They're just wired completely different. They have different needs. They have social itches that need to be scratched, communication things that they need to get out. And, it's just completely different from men. So, that's always boggled my mind that it comes down to,
I get it.
external.
I get it.
organs.
You agree?
I mean, I don't know that I do. I mean, I get those calls. You know what I mean? Like I have those calls, and it's funny because it's almost the exact same way, where men will call me up, and they'll start talking about something, whatever, right? Hey man, so you still got that Harley,
Right.
Whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then right before the phone call's over, they'll say, by the way, you got a minute?
Right.
I have this, whatever that thing is that they really want to talk about and have wanted to talk about, not just in that moment, have
Right.
wanted to talk. Usually it's months, years.
Yeah.
They wanted to talk about this thing,
Right.
whatever it was. And it's usually something that could be embarrassing, some sexual related thing. Like, how many times do men call me and say, man, I was with my girl the other day and
It just wouldn't work.
it just didn't work, man. But
Yeah.
it's the first time it ever happened. It's never happened to me before. But
Yeah.
is there anything you
I got a friend who's dealing with an issue.
Right. And inevitably I'll say, listen, man, you're a man. How old are you? So at this age, this is going to happen. It happens, right? And there's 1,000 reasons this could happen. And there are a few things that you can do to manage it. But the fact that you're worried about it and the fact that you're embarrassed about it and the fact that you feel like it's abnormal is going to cause more problems for it. But it's not just that, right? It could be relationship problems with girlfriend, with wife.
Stress in general.
With the buddy. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. And he didn't know how to say it.
Wait. Say that again. It could be with the buddy?
A problem that he has with a male
okay.
Yeah.
Dave,
Dave.
you're so immature, Dave.
Dave.
Hey, man, you want some pizza? Yeah. That pizza's kind of greasy.
Oh, my.
No, hey, it could happen to some guys. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with you and that men, like this buddy of mine that went through a divorce. I actually had like 3 friends that went through the midlife thing about a year ago. And I'll call him up to check on him. The first 45 minutes, he's just,
I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm good.
Right.
Thanks. How are you?
Right.
You good? Okay. Yeah. And then minute 51, 52, they start slowly letting down the thing. And every once in a while, there's just between me and you, brother. This just between me and you. And but I think it's, again, we don't have that much practice being vulnerable. Women can just jump in there and they go for it. We have all of these defenses and all these barriers and walls and stuff we got to break through, all this BS before we can actually get to the real.
I have a suspicion, and I'm not going to say all of it because it can be a volatile idea, but men, for instance, I believe are not socialized in intimacy, right? And when I say intimacy, I also mean sex, but I don't only mean sex.
Right.
I mean the various forms of, there are languages that have 10, 11 different words for love, right? And they mean different things. Some of them are sexual, some of them are just friendship, right? But we in the West are not taught this, and I think as a result of that, we can get confused. We get lost in what we're feeling or what we're thinking about things, and because of that, I think a lot of times men will want to say something or want to express something or want to have some kind of interaction, but they kind of don't want to have it because they think that if they do,
Right.
I must want to have sex with him.
Right.
And it's not necessarily true.
I'm glad that we're making this segue because men and sex was what Marla actually really wanted us to segue into. So she has some questions down here. What do you think the reason that men fall in love? Men fall in love because, and to me, again, that's just the wrong way to ask the question.
They fall in love for the same reason.
But I guess what she might be getting at and is, in other words, I always say that the first thing that you see in a person, at least for me, maybe I can just speak from my perspective, is their physical attributes.
Absolutely.
And so if that is your type, so to speak, that's the first thing that you see. And then who that person is the second thing that you fall in love with or that you're attracted to. Right. And it gets even a stronger bond is then starts to form inside of you, and you move on that. So I don't know if that's the same for every man.
That second wave gets a shot if there's that first thing is together.
Yeah.
There could be some amazingly, wonderfully personalized, the personalities of people trapped in the body that's not appealing to you. You won't get a shot to learn to get to meet them. Yeah. One of the most amazing things that happens when I do my EXMO, I do a blind camp every year. One of the craziest, most mind-blowing conversations I had 3:00 in the morning one night with my athletes. They were talking about how they felt. I have totals, people are partially blind, but they were talking about how handicapped the sighted world is.
Absolutely.
Because we have friendships that we miss out on all the time.
Right, because we're already turned off by phase one.
Exactly. Right. You don't even get a chance to see this person. This guy could have the exact same sense of humor as you, love cars, Harleys, whatever that you do, but you won't give him the shot.
Because of what he looks like.
Yeah, they don't have that issue. They bond with that person's soul, and their friendships run deep. So I totally agree with you. Yeah, that the first thing men are attracted to, and oftentimes the only thing they're attracted to, is how the person looks.
And I think, to me, Aaron, unless you want to add something to it, because I'm about to keep going.
I shouldn't say it, so I'm just.
No, go, Aaron, please. This is the man cave. That's when you're supposed to say it.
If it was just the 4 of us, what I was gonna say is, if we're honest, all of us know some really deeply unattractive women who are phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, the nicest, the ones that you like, oh my God. Like,
Phenomenal in
all
what
of
way, though? What are you
PBS,
saying when you say
in
phenomenal?
a-
What's
in a-
that semantic mean?
in a lot of ways, Dave.
Okay, I'm just trying to be clear.
I watch PBS. Yeah, I see it. A lot of deep women.
I can tell you for sure that I've known a lot of women who were not my type, who I am absolutely certain would make amazing mothers, amazing wives, amazing friends, helpmates.
Amazing lovers.
Well,
Some
Dave,
some
come
some
on.
unattractive women are. My wife is listening to this.
Aaron, let me help you out. Let me help you out.
Yes.
So one time, and here's a little anecdote.
Yes.
I'm sitting here and I start off dogging one of my really good friends. I would say one of my best friends.
Yes.
About the person that he was sleeping with. I mean, then the rest of us start really just going, and he's like, "Yeah, you can laugh if you want to."
Right.
Let me tell you what she did. By the time he was done, we instantly looked at her completely different, like,
Now, when you say what she did.
and how good she was at doing it. It was a sexual act.
Oh, wow.
And again, to your point.
So all of you looked at her like,
to your point, from a sexual perspective, we would have never even been privy to that possibility based on the outward appearance. And he was like, "You guys are crazy."
You never get there. You'll
And
never,
we
Yeah.
were like, "Whoa,
never get, listen,
That's
I
the
have
Eddie
had
Murphy joke.
I've had the conversation about larger women
yeah."
with some other friends, and no, whatever. Hey,
Yeah.
whatever. And I have some. When I was in college, I went to school with a dude named Orlando Hawkins III. I hope you're listening.
That sounds like a guy who would like a bigger
Hawk.
woman.
He was about 6'2", 6'3".
oh my God.
Right. 6'2", 6'3". He might have weighed 165, 170 pounds. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, the bigger the girl, his eyes would get stars. I mean enormous. I mean huge.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd be like, "Listen, I don't care what you think about it, because they do something for me that no other woman of any size has ever done.
Wow,
So I
that's
don't
great.
care, and I love them."
Now let me
That's
say
great, man.
that leads me to my next point. To me, what I think is most attractive about any woman is her confidence about her own specific attributes.
Absolutely.
100%.
So if she thinks that she's got a set of breasts, then and she's willing to be like, "Mm-hmm," I'm like, "Mm-hmm." If she feels like she's looking good somewhere else and she doesn't mind and she's very confident in that, suddenly I'm attracted to whatever
It's confidence.
her attribute is that she feels confident in it. And then I found out, you know what? It's confidence.
Absolutely.
Confidence in general.
Amy Schumer.
Yeah.
Amy Schumer.
She's a bigger.
Are you saying that she does it for you? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying if somebody said, "Yo, man,
Excuse me.
I want to go on a date with her," I get it. I would be like, "Got it," because she is whatever else she is. She seems to be very smart, which for me is the thing.
Right.
Like for me, smart is the first thing for me.
Right.
It's not booty. It's not tits. It's not
Right.
leg. It's smart, right? But then all the other stuff. Her confidence overall seems to be what she projects is extremely sexy. Extremely sexy. And I think that's the thing, right? Like, and it's probably true for men and women. Like that you hear women say the same thing, right? The dude that's the most confident in the room for a woman is
Absolutely.
the dude
Yeah.
that's gonna win.
Yeah.
That confidence is
It's the thing.
It's the thing.
Yeah.
Period. In your career, in the bedroom, on
I-
the
I tend to
basketball
agree.
court, on stage, anything.
Now
It's
you
all
don't want
about
to be, you don't want to be
confidence.
falsely confident.
Well,
You don't want to be
that's-
cocky.
You're right.
You know what I'm saying? Conceited.
You want to be correct, right?
Right.
You want to be in contact with reality.
Right.
Yeah.
But
That's-
if that woman is like, whatever, I like me. In fact, I
Right.
love me. I dig
Right.
who I am. And whatever you think about it doesn't matter. Like, I
Right.
so love me, and I'm okay with whatever this is,
Right.
and I'm great.
So let me ask you this. I don't know what your wife looks like at all.
She's enormous now.
She's pregnant.
Maybe I should just stop
Let me
and back
let
up.
you off
no,
the
but what I
hook.
was going to say is if she was a smaller woman
Yes.
and became a larger woman with all that confidence, would you be good?
I think I would be. I told her, she asked me this question not that long ago.
I think
told her
Aaron
no.
Hawkins
I
the
told her
third
no.
or Orlando. What would you say your name was that you
Orlando
said?
would want to trade in. he would want to touch into the game. But I actually, she asked me, and I told her no. I told her I would trade her out. But I was obviously I was joking. I was kidding. So I told him I was joking. But I think I would be because for me, again, intelligence and personality are the most important things
Right.
in my
Yeah.
relationships.
Right.
They really are, right? And so if you're bringing those to the table to begin with, we all change. I don't look anything like I look when I met my
Absolutely.
wife. That's the truth. You know what I mean? I have a picture that I carry in my phone. I was 220 pounds. I was ripped every place.
Right.
I'm not now. I don't have any of that, right? But
You got your brain.
I still have my brain. I do, right?
Your
I'm
brain is
still me
ripped.
on the inside.
Your brain is ripped.
Oh my goodness! When we come back, we're going to deal with erectile dysfunction. We kind of touched on it, but we're going to see how far that rabbit hole goes and how important sex is in a relationship. We'll ask our co-host today. This is the Marla and Dave Show. This is the Man Cave today, and we'll be right back.
It's time for the Marla and Dave Doghouse. Marla has something that should put Dave in the doghouse. Dave has something that should put Marla in the doghouse. You decide who gets a biscuit and who gets busted and ends up in the doghouse.
All right, we're going to do a different twist on the doghouse today because Marla's not here, and usually, from her perspective, I probably belong in the doghouse. That's probably, my friends say, "What's up, dog?" It's really just because, that's who I am from her perspective. Anyway, is there anything that's getting on your nerves today, Aaron Alvin? Specifically.
Just in general?
Or maybe
relationship?
more in a relationship perspective.
Please go first.
Wow, man. I just told you she was pregnant. I have nothing to say. She's awesome. She's the best thing I've ever known.
Well, for me, I know.
Yeah, no, but let me ask you this: in during pregnancy, does that
She's better.
change
better.
the sex
Oh,
life at all?
That's assuming that there is.
That's true, Aaron. I don't know.
so
Yeah.
no. No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. Okay.
No.
When my son was, my wife was carrying my son. She was placenta previa, so that means that I couldn't even approach the cervix because it would actually dislodge the baby.
Stop bragging.
You know how guys brag about that.
stop bragging.
Not every woman is anatomically.
Daddy!
Not every woman is anatomically 10 inches deep.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, you never, I'm not saying one way or
10
the other.
inches. Listen
Wait,
to
that-
this guy.
right,
You
right.
see how you slipped that inch?
I
She's
did
10
not
inches
say
deep.
that.
I need my full 10
I
inches.
get in there.
I said-
I could get to that surface.
I said
anymore. It's
not.
dangerous.
Oh, my
I
God.
could turn
Not
the baby.
every woman could handle that 10 inches.
Oh,
10
my
inches,
God.
you
Ben, go ahead. You're about to say what's getting on your nerves in your relationship. Yeah.
Man, well, sometimes she doesn't have 12 inches and that gets on my nerves.
So annoyed with that.
I can see it actually coming out
This
the
is hindering
stomach.
our relationship.
It's like, God, that is gross. Could you cover
Always
that
talking
up?
about having a throat ache afterwards. Her throat is always
But I
bothering
care.
her.
I do care.
Every time you have sex, she's hoarse the next day. Why?
I do care. Oh. Are you okay, honey? No, we're going through a kind of a thing because she got laid off in December. So it's a real touch and go kind of what I can suggest as far as, hey, but case in point, there was a text that came across the other day. LA Chargers are in
Yeah.
town. 5,000 jobs. They're going to be hiring
Can't say a word.
I made the mistake of showing her the text. Oh my gosh.
Can't say a word.
Oh my goodness. And I was like, okay, I understand that this probably isn't going to pay what you were getting, but it's paying more than you're getting now.
And it's not that deep.
Yeah.
Because it's something that Marla and I are going through right now. I feel like I need to let her see the things that you get mad at, you always do.
Right.
And if I needed to get a little bit more money and you
Right.
said to me, you would expect me to say, "Oh, thanks for the tip, sweetie."
Exactly. You know what?
That's a good look.
For me, bro, I don't brag. It's not my personality, but I got 10 Grammy Awards. Thank you, Jesus.
Right.
Yeah.
I will sing.
I got him with
but
him. Thank Jesus.
I
One
will
for every
sing.
inch.
But you get one every time.
Every extra, if you knew it, look, I got 12 Grammys. God.
Chicken or egg. You know what I mean? Chicken or egg.
No, but you just blew my mind. I can't even think what I was going to say. It took me in a whole completely different direction.
Sorry about that.
right, we'll let you come back to it. Anyway, that's the Madhouse, the Dog House, and we're going to get back to the show.
What's the action?
You'll laugh. You'll learn. You'll learn. You'll get mad.
Shut up!
You'll get happy. But you won't be bored. This is the Marla and Dave Radio Show on the Universal Broadcast Network.
Right quick before we get back to the show, Marla is usually monitoring the Facebook live stream. So she's getting your questions today. I got here at the last minute. I was eating because I was hungry. I'm not monitoring it. And I'm not really monitoring any of the social network streams. But you can always call in 323-524-2599. And the men of the Man Cave would actually answer any question that you have that just comes to your mind. We'll deal with it. Because we're men, that's what we do. We deal with it.
Whatever the question is.
Dave,
This is your moment to
can
get
I
that
say one
question
thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
From the chat room.
Oh, there's a chat room. Thank you for monitoring that.
They
Tony.
said, you wish.
I wish. Yeah, I do wish. Trust me. I would be naked all day. At 12 inches, I'd just be one day.
Just alone with your 12 inches.
Vin, you can remember this.
Yeah.
We were in Jamaica.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Again, clarification.
Yeah, at first I said, Vin, yes. It's like, no, Vin, you can't remember that.
I'm with you.
But we were in Jamaica, and this was a trip. I think a lot of the wives were on the trip at the time, those of us who were married. And we're in the van going to a sound check or something like that, driving through Kingston. And it was probably about a long way off, I would say. I would say maybe a quarter of a mile away. I see a guy whose whole body, from the distance that, where we were, the perspective, his whole body seemed this big.
Right.
My wife is on the side like, what the? Oh, my God. I couldn't even see the dude, much less his penis. As we approached the guy, literally, the guy might have been, 6'6"?
Yeah, he was a big...
Head to toe,
strapping.
caked as if he had been rolling in a mud hole. So he was caked in mud. It looked like you do this and dirt would fly off. But he probably had a penis that might have been, 13 inches?
That's not 13.
That's a lot bigger.
Is this more than 13?
That's more
Well,
than
it was like this.
So Dave,
Literally.
you might be doing
So,
okay.
yeah, so Dave thinks...
If you're like
Dave thinks this is
13
12.
inches, right? You're like, I'm working with 12.
Yeah.
Say, play that again,
So
Tony.
this-
Yeah. The
this isn't
dude,
12.
the
That's
dude
what
was
I-
like 4 inches. This dude, I almost said.
Poor Marla.
The thing about it that makes it funny is in my household we don't say anything, but I could be an Archie Bunker because I think most racist humor is actually funny.
Yeah.
It's inappropriate, but I like inappropriate humor.
Not
So
me, Dave.
so
I don't
anyway,
throw those kind of-
so I just in case I slip.
But the guy had lost his mind. He was just walking down the street
Yeah.
butt naked, and it was sad.
Because he had a
Yeah, well,
18-inch
He was
penis.
crazy, but he knew that he
All
was,
the blood was in one.
that
No,
he was
the
there.
thing about it is that it didn't seem like he needed blood flow because it was flaccid.
Well, Dave, I mean,
But if it wasn't hanging down, and
It was.
it
It was.
So can you imagine every time he gets an erection,
He
just
probably
passes
passed out. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably why he lost his mind.
Right.
I can never enjoy that.
You're beautiful.
I love you so much. I think we should.
There he goes. Jacques Lanjac went again.
I just can't stay with him, man.
It's big, but it's
He's just not there for me.
Right.
Oh man. So let's come back around to it. What is your biggest turn off sexually?
stink.
Smell.
Smell. Smell.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, that's pretty close. It's in the top 2.
Yeah.
Then what about you?
Unsexy sex talk.
Oh yeah.
You know, you got to do it right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're saying stuff that's not wrong, like,
The reason why I'm laughing is because we were at one time. I don't know. I think it was one of my parents' anniversaries. Their anniversary together, but one of their anniversaries. I can't remember whether it was 30 or something like that. But all the family was there with our wives.
right.
So one of my brothers, I won't say who, his wife starts talking, and we have a pretty open family. We talk about just about everything, even though more than likely we wish we didn't. So my sister-in-law at the time says to the table, and there's like 12 or 14 of us sitting there
Right.
in public at a restaurant. Yeah, I just can't. I don't even know how we got on the subject, but she says, yeah, he just, I tried to get him to, just to hype up our sex life by talking dirty. And he would just say, booty, pussy, booty, pussy.
Like he's checking off a list.
Now the rest
I only
of
mentioned
my
vagina,
siblings,
and there's a breast or two.
the rest
they
of my
ordering?
siblings at this, because I told you I'm just inappropriate. I immediately laughed so hard that the people started looking all over the restaurant like, what's going on? I'm falling out of my chair, just cracking up. Marla's like, Dave, because he was obviously embarrassed.
Right.
The rest of the family's trying to be cool. My dad is like, so son. And I felt so bad for him because what she was saying is exactly that. He just...
Yeah. If we're going to talk, let's
And he's not that talkative to begin with, so
Right,
I could see that he would have a hard time with that.
Right.
So, yeah.
Or lazy in bed. Come on, man.
The answer no. No to any question
Yeah.
in bed is a turnoff.
See, for me, a turnoff is sex is for both of us.
Correct.
If you're not going to be in there trying to get yours,
Right.
almost
doing?
antagonistically,
Right.
aggressively, this is what you got to do.
Right.
I'm going to be doing what I'm going to do. You better be, That, so if you're not like that, then,
Dave, should we schedule a session to talk about this?
I should schedule a session with my wife because that's how I like it.
Dave, that sounds like a fight.
It should.
Oh.
It's not really a fight, but I want you to really. You gotta. That makes me like. You got. Oh no. Ooh. That's the
You
way I
don't
like
like-
it.
you don't like
I don't
friendly sex.
like. For instance, I guess one of the guys who had been with Sharapova, I can't remember which one, said that she just laid there like a dead fish.
that's awful.
The dead fish doesn't work for me.
That's all.
Enrique.
Is that who said that?
I think it was Enrique.
Yeah, I have no idea. But anyway, what's your biggest turn on?
You taking the initiative.
So wait a
I'll
minute.
walk in the room and there's a whole mood set. And it's about to go.
Oh,
down.
okay. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. What do you?
Maybe smell again. It might be, that
The right smell is the bigger turn on. The wrong smell is like, oh hell no.
100%.
I don't think it's ever a hell no, though.
Yeah.
Oh no.
be that bad? Is
It can
a
be a
hell
hell
no?
no. Yeah.
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 You guys are on another level.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
never gets that
Like,
bad.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
see how you start to revisit it?
Yeah.
It lingers in the brain. Shake your head like a cat. You can't get it out.
There's a story that I will have to tell you after the show.
After the show.
This one cannot be repeated on air. It's not about you, honey, and you know the story, and you know how sad it is. Anyway, so let's get into erectile dysfunction.
All right.
All right, now you said it was Orlando?
Hawkins third.
He wasn't the erectile dysfunction
No,
guy that called you up.
as far as we could tell, he was
Happy.
quite virile.
So what is it about? Because for me, there have been a couple of times for me that was an issue. And one time was when we were doing I think we were trying to have sex for 101 straight days. No, 102.
You get a pass on that.
So let me
Anybody's
tell you,
having that kind of, that's like a year.
a third of a year.
Third of a year.
Every day.
No matter what you're going through, you just got to get it in every day.
Wow, literally.
So, and at the beginning, I was like, man, this is going to be amazing. You know what I mean?
I don't know about
That
that.
doesn't sound amazing to me.
Yeah,
It still sounds amazing to me. But I'll put it to you like this. So at the time, we were dealing with issues with our first house, and I'm sitting there trying to pay bills and trying to do such and such. Now, Marla, for wherever she was happy about it too. She's like, "Okay, let's go," and I'm like, "Can you give me a second?" Says, "Hey, let's go. Could you give me a second?" And she just would not stop. So I wasn't sure whether or not it was the stress of the annoyance, the stress of the bills. But after a while, I was like, "Yeah, I'm not doing it."
Just the stress on top of the stress, whatever
I
the
can't
stress
do it.
was. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And your body is going to be like,
Yeah. See, for me, you remember how I was saying how I like to, I picture it in my mind the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
If it's not like that, your brain doesn't feel like you're actually
now,
getting what you want.
you saying you have a rigid paradigm around.
No, but I do
Rigid
have
is
a.
not his problem. Is
No.
what he's saying.
No, what I'm really saying is I want you to be there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Oh, you got to.
I want you to want to. I want you to be
want
all
her to
in.
be present.
Yeah,
You want
absolutely.
to know that she's present.
Literally. So,
I agree with
so
you.
when someone says to me, "Yeah," there are times in our marriage where Marla would just say, "Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I'm not feeling that. Just, but you can go ahead."
Yeah, no, pass.
I'm like, what
Pass.
the? No, there were times when I would take that as a challenge.
Right.
That
You
there,
gonna wake up?
there were times when I'd be like, challenge. and of
You ain't
course,
sleeping. You ain't sleeping. You ain't sleeping.
Right. You still sleeping?
you better say my name in your sleep. You said what? No. Anyway, but you see what I'm saying.
I
So for me,
absolutely
that and I'm not sure nowadays and that was way before the blue pill or Cialis or anything like that. So I'm not sure nowadays that you should even have an issue with erectile dysfunction.
Well, I mean, the different people have different. Some people, Cialis and the blue pill don't work for, because sometimes the problem is deeper than that, right? Like
It's like a head problem.
a lot of times it's an emotional.
But I thought most of the time it's an emotional or mental issue.
Sometimes it's physiological. There are all kinds of reasons, right? Like there are a bunch of reasons that can deal with this. There's something called quad mix.
What?
Yeah,
Wait, say that again, man.
quad mix.
Quad mix.
Quad mix. And
Quad
mix
like
is
4?
like 4.
Okay.
Right, so it's 4 different drugs.
That's gotta work.
I'm about to hurt every dude's feelings,
Okay.
except for the dudes that have used it.
Okay.
It's an injectable, and you inject it at the base of the penis.
Yeah, see,
Oh,
I'm
before
done.
every time.
Yes, but every time in that case might last as long as 6 hours. I have a friend,
Yeah, see.
I will not say his name, who has a penchant for multiples. And in other words, he will go and
Multiple partners or
at once, 4.
okay.
4 in the bed at once. And with the help of quad mix, they call it
Everybody leaves happy.
They call it F1 here.
So
in
quad is
Pennsylvania,
like
but
for every 4 women, they can all be pleased.
until he's done or they're done. It's a beast.
I
And
thought you said something else, Dave.
what did you think he said?
And I told you just in case something slips out, I apologize in advance. But I said for every 4 women.
No. You said quad. I thought you said Claude. That's why I stopped and turned like.
That's exactly
No.
what Claude used.
No, my dad's name is
thought I
Claude
saw
too.
that.
So no, I said quad.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
It is, and it pays no attention to mental.
So you get over that little injection because it's happy times just
You wouldn't
ahead.
even feel it. It's a very small needle, and if a person needed to use that or wanted to use it, they could use it and have great success.
Wow.
So I'll put it to you like this. To me, that when you say 6 hours, that seems dangerous because even some of the drugs say anything over 4 hours, make sure you get to the hospital.
You know, okay, let me just go.
And let me
there.
tell you why. Even before you go there, Ben, when I asked my mother-in-law, is that a bad thing? She said, yeah, because after that tissue remains engorged that long,
Can cause problems.
it can actually get to the point where it's like a rubber band that you stretch out too much. It loses its elasticity. So after a while, it will never get hard again.
Okay.
So then quad mix could be dangerous.
So a lot of times when doctors or pharmacists make quad mix, they also sell an antidote.
Oh, to bring it down. That's
So you
another
got to give
injection?
yourself an injection
Not always,
in the
but if
penis
you
twice.
if you overdo it, then you could. But
And see, I'm not sure I can inject myself in the penis.
I definitely do that. But here's what I was going to say.
I'm not sure I can
If
do
you
it.
have a problem with smells, 6 hours of stroking,
what
that room with 4 different people,
What are you stroking there, Al?
4 different vaginas. For 6 hours?
Yeah.
You know what that room was going to smell like?
Yeah, but
It probably has no air in it, period. So you're probably not actually smelling. There's no oxygen left.
There's nothing left. You're,
In
But
the
what
room?
were you about to say? You're in the room.
Okay.
yes,
Wow.
the girl has died. She has expired, and there's no air left in her.
That's how I like it. She must die.
All right, so we're going to have to take a little break, get to the Mad Love game, but we're going to continue this discussion on this topic for just a little bit longer. And we're going to get to the break.
It's time to play the Marla and Dave Love Game. Here are Marla and Dave to explain how it works.
Worry about it. I'll get you the info for the quad mix right away.
I heard there was some quad mix in the other room.
Who said I haven't?
Who said I don't know about it already? You're assuming things, sir.
I'm patient zero.
Sorry about that. The MaD Love Game is a game that was created by Marla and I. It's comprised of the three categories that we think affect relationships most: sex, finance, and communication. It's played by rolling a single die. Has those categories, has lose a turn, but it has the MaD logo. When you roll the MaD logo, you can actually choose whatever you want to. Vin, you will do the honors.
All right.
If you please.
Pow.
Lose a turn. Pass that down to Aaron, please. Vin didn't believe in quad mix.
No, I didn't.
Finance.
Okay.
All right.
Here's a question. Should a man always pay for a woman when they go on a date?
Should.
Should, yeah.
Should it be a law? Should it be the rule?
Should a man pay when he goes on a date with the woman? Should the man just pay? Should that be understood?
I think that she shouldn't expect him to pay.
She should not.
She should not expect him to pay.
She should give him a reach.
She should at least give him a reach. She should go into her pocket.
Yeah, just give me a reach.
And he should push her hand.
Right.
No, thank you. I
And
got it.
smack her.
In the final analysis, you think he should pay?
Yeah.
Then what about
I agree,
you?
I agree, but give me the reach.
Yeah.
Give me the reach.
Give me an authentic reach.
Authentic is the point.
I can tell if
Right.
you're not really.
Now, for those of you who have been watching the Marla and Dave Show, you know that the MaD Love Game, the questions we came up with, but the answers are actually from the PEW, or the Pew Research Center. And the answer to this one says, tradition seems to hold true on this one. Since it's usually the man who initiates the date, most people feel the man should pay for the date. Now, the cool thing about the MaD Love Game is each question and answer has a further discussion question. So when you're playing with your friends, it's kind of cool to start these big, great discussions. The further discussion question for this card is, should women expect this? And here's my thing. I think that's the way it is, that men actually end up paying most of the time. But women are always asking for equality. I don't understand that. It's almost like they want an old school man with new school sensibilities.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
I got one better for you. My wife and I go out,
Yeah.
and we're at dinner. I have her pay. It's the same account, but I like what she puts down the card, and I'm
Yeah.
just sitting there.
But do you notice that people look at you funny?
Yeah, and
When
they
she
always
puts her
bring
co-
me bring
Correct.
it for me to sign
Correct.
anyway.
Absolutely.
I'm just like, man,
100%.
come on.
So does that make you feel bad when they look at you funny?
It doesn't make me feel bad, but I recognize it as a problem. I mean, it's a societal problem. Like,
Yeah.
why are you looking at me like that? Why is this a problem?
What is your problem? You don't have an issue. Back up.
Anyway, that's the MaD Love Game. Thank you guys for playing. You can get your copy of the MaD Love Game by going to www.marlandave.com. Click on the MaD merch tab. You'll find the game and other things that will make your life more fun, your sex life more fun, your relationship more fun. Back to the show.
David is a thinker.
I never do anything without thinking about it first.
Marla is a feeler.
I basically wear my personality on my sleeve.
But when Marla and Dave get together, it's like a match dancing with a firecracker. This is the Marla and Dave Radio Show on the Universal Broadcast Network.
It's time for the poll break. The poll question this week was, has Donald Trump's troubled presidency reached the level of impeachment? Your options were yes, hashtag you're fired, no, hashtag full-term president. 35% said yes, you're fired, and everybody else said no, full-term president.
Really?
Wow.
Strange.
Where do you market this show?
The crazy thing about it is, to me, I think the question was a little misleading. Has it reached the level of impeachment yet? I think most people are. The poll question seems to indicate the answer is that most people say that while it might be reaching, it hasn't gotten there yet. And I say all the time that, to me, impeachment is a political move.
Right.
And you would have to have the majority of Republicans to agree in order for that to actually happen,
Have
which
his-
I think that's pretty difficult.
It's just
have
the
his
seats.
actions reach that level for me day one when he showed up. Yeah.
Yeah.
But is he impeachable based on what we have in Washington right now? No, absolutely not.
Highly unlikely. Well, we don't have a poll question yet for next week, so you have to log on to www.marlandave.com this evening, and you will have the new poll question there. We're going to get back to the show.
Can you handle the truth? This is modern American dialogue in a mad world from two unique, fresh, transparent perspectives. This is the Marla and Dave Radio Show.
All right, so have we actually exhausted the erectile dysfunction issue?
It's
Or is that something that's too uncomfortable to talk
It's
about?
not uncomfortable
it's
at all for me to
wilting.
talk about.
It's
Is it wilting?
subject is wilting.
It's not standing up anymore.
It's not saying enough.
because there was another question.
No,
Oh, go ahead.
actually, I was going to say I dealt with that issue right after my divorce.
Now, is that because of their emotional?
Oh man, there was so much stuff swirling around and being vulnerable. Do I want to go down this road again and all this kind of stuff? And it did a number on me. It did a number on me. And what's the trip is, we all as men feel like we know our body, we know ourselves, we know what you do this, then this.
Yeah.
You look at this, then that, and then that wasn't connecting to that. I was like, man, this woman messed my mood right up.
I hate you. You're going back.
But yeah, until I really realized, man, you're not Superman.
Right.
You have feelings. You went through some deep stuff.
Correct.
When I got in touch with all of that, then it was, then I was back. But it until that moment, that I actually put two and two together, there was some quiet crisis going on.
As a relationship coach, Aaron, let me ask you this. Is it just a physical thing when men get to a certain age, or is it that at that age you're usually dealing with more things?
Yeah, I think it's an and. I think it's an and then you just said something that I think brought us back to the beginning of the conversation, which was you dealt with this problem until you realized that you were an emotional being.
Right.
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 And you started to deal with that stuff. When we get older, we get more entrenched in our ways, and if we haven't gotten to that place, we have to deal with that stuff. We just stuff more and more stuff in there. You got more work, you got more
Right.
children, more bills, more whatever it is, right? And
And you can't get it up.
you can't get it up.
God.
This whole thing stinks. Everything stinks. She stinks.
No wonder.
But imagine if we had a whole situation where men were taught from day one. You're an emotional being. This is what's going on. It's like, and you're gonna need to deal with these things in these ways. Talk about it, whatever,
Right.
like whatever it is, right? We might not have so much.
If somebody would have said to me, you're going to go through these emotions, you're going to feel this way, you're going to think, and actually, if you get in this situation, this might even happen to
Right.
you. I would have had at least a heads up.
Correct.
But I was like blindsided.
She broke me, and now I'm broken.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And then you go on this vengeance streak to prove that nothing's wrong with you.
And then you're worried that it's not going to work.
right.
And then that actually adds to it. So
Right,
the
right,
more
right.
stress, more stress.
Right, right, right.
All right. Well, speaking of how we were saying that women still want are more and more looking for equality, is there still such a thing as leadership in a relationship? And B, is that the man's role?
Yeah, absolutely is the man's role. I heard I'm gonna go church on you. I heard a pastor say that if there is a problem in the house, it better be her fault. It better be her issue. It better, because if it's on you and you haven't addressed it, then you're messing up your role. You're shirking your responsibility. You've dropped the ball as high priest of the house.
So do you believe that what the pastor said?
Yes.
So the thing
it's
that
not
so
easy, but yeah.
maybe it's a semantic. Are you saying that the man should never be wrong? In other
I'm
words,
saying
there's
if-
no room for the man to be wrong?
No. I'm saying if he's wrong, it's his responsibility to own up to it, step up, call the meeting, apologize, or if there's something that she's done to offend you, you call the meeting, get it together. It's your cabinet. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that you're going to be perfect from that point on, but the direction, the vibe, the feeling, the spiritual and emotional temperature of the home is set by the man.
And not that that's your perspective. It may be, I don't know, but you said the pastor. From that perspective, when the woman has a problem, how does it get handled?
You just have to figure out when we can talk about it, when we can address this. I've noticed that you are feeling this.
That's
way.
what the woman should say, or that's what the husband
man
should
is saying.
say. He should be so in tune that whenever
Right.
she has a problem, he should say, "What's wrong, sweetie?"
Yeah, and I don't know if you're ready to talk about it yet, but I've noticed this, and I would like for us to be able to address this so that we can get this behind us.
What do you think about that, Aaron?
Completely disagree.
Okay.
But not discount. Just disagree, right? So I'm a socialist in a lot of ways, and I feel like we've progressed to a place, or at least we ought to have progressed to a place where men and women can be partners, where leadership can be shared. That there are places where, like there are places where I'm gonna take the lead,
Right.
because I'm more prepared to take the lead or whatever, right? And there are places where she's gonna take the lead. But what I want is a relationship. What I want is a relationship where there are two grown-ups, two whole and complete people, two people who are accountable to themselves and for themselves and to and for each other, right? All the time, as often as humanly possible, right? But also aware enough and whole enough to understand that we all fall down. Like we have pitfalls and moments and whatever, right? Like I understand that pastor's way of thinking. Like I understand it. I have some sense of where it comes from. But I think now, I think we're better than that, frankly. And to the whole equality thing, people aren't equal, right? But people
They deserve equal rights.
They deserve equal rights, right?
But they're not the same.
My wife cannot do the physical labor. First of all, so she doesn't get angry. My wife has run 21 or 20 LA marathons. She is a strong, capable human being, right? I, at one point in time, had a 1,400-pound leg press. My wife did not. She could not do with her legs.
Wasn't going to happen.
It's not possible, not physically possible, right? But that doesn't mean that we don't have access or shouldn't have access to the same equal rights as human beings, right? It just means that I open the door for my wife.
I do too.
Apparently, you kicked the door down for your wife.
Would do that also.
I'm just joking. But I tend to agree with you, and I think I'm in between that perspective. In other words, I feel pretty much the same as you. In my house, my wife is better at handling the finances than I am.
Mine too.
I actually don't care about money as like my wife does.
Right.
So it doesn't really mean that much to me. Yes, no, a lot, a little. Doesn't change
the
my
same way.
attitude one
Okay, let me
iota.
ask you both then this question. If you see that there's an issue, even with an area of her strength, are you going to be the one that's going to call a meeting, or are you going to be the one to say, babe, we need to talk about this?
So I was going to say this. I actually think that it's still a good idea for my wife to be able to call the meeting. Does that make sense? If she sees, because I'm not going to see every issue. In other words, just because of who I am, there might be a need for somebody to see that issue, but I'm impervious to it. I might be oblivious to the issue. So she needs the facility. I think in our relationship, the facility is needed for her to be able to call an issue out as well. I will tell you this. I don't think that says that is a lack of leadership or one is more of a leader than the other. I think in our house, it will boil down to the final call tends to be mine. Of course, that gets on her nerves, but that still is the final call. But I think anybody can bring an issue to the table.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the final call, the answer is the right answer.
Right.
Right. The final answer
I agree.
is the correct answer.
And you should be able to agree
No
to
matter
that.
whoever provides it.
Because I'm not always right. And
There you
she's
go.
certainly not always right. So I'm sorry for how I said it.
Certainly.
Clearly.
She would have said it exactly the same way in reverse, but you know
I'm
what I mean?
sure.
Like, so the right answer, I think, is the right answer.
Right. Okay.
Well, guys, you know what? This has been awesome. This has been so awesome. I think we should make this a regular thing, whether it be quarterly or once a month. We need to have the Man Cave. What do you think, Tony? Yeah, indeed. And for all of you who are watching live, you know what? Kudos to you. We are actually about to bounce out of here immediately and check out the game. We'll see you guys next week. Marla will be back, and we're going to have a great show for you next week. This has been the Marla and Dave Show, special edition, The Man Cave, with Dave, Alvin, and Aaron. Thank you guys for hanging out. See you next week.